Hello everyone, my name is Nachiketa and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my US F1 visa interview experience, and I'm basically making this video for two reasons. One, if you're someone who is going to give the interview, this is gonna help you walk. This is gonna walk you through the whole process so that by the time you have your interview, you don't have any surprises left. And the second is, of course, to tell you my own experience and give you some tips and general questions asked so that you're completely prepared on the day of your interview. So my interview was in the Mumbai consulate and my interview slot was at 9 a.m. So it's always a better idea to reach at least 1 hour and 15 minutes before. I had just reached there at 7:55 a.m. and within 2 or 3 minutes I was called in. So there's a huge crowd waiting there around the consulate, waiting for their slots timing to be called. And when we were called, we went into the consulate, and there are multiple queues at multiple points. There is one queue where you have to give your passports, where they scan it to make sure that you have the correct appointment on that day. Then you have to go through a scanner where they check your belongings, see if you're not carrying anything else. And before you enter, there's also a deposit locker where you're able to deposit any belongings you have. So I had to deposit my phone over there, and they charge you around 50 rupees per item. So if you have anything, you can keep that over there. If you have an umbrella, you can even take that inside because it was raining around the time that my interview slot was scheduled. When we're done with the initial queue and scanning ourselves, we were made to sit in around 4 or 5 rows where each row has around probably 20 30 students, and one by one they call each row in. They call you into a big hall where there are two primary sections. There is one section where there were around 8 to 10 counters where the actual interview was taking place. So in the 8 counters, there was a glass panel behind which an officer was sitting, and there was a queue in front of them. And one by one, you have to move forward and give the interview, right? Through the glass panel, of course. And in each counter, there are probably around 2 to 3 people waiting. So as you proceed in the queue, you are able to also hear the people around you, the kind of questions which are being asked, because it's a closed auditorium, right? So you have to, so before you're called for the interview, so there are two options. One is when you're giving the interview, they might again scan your fingerprints. The other option is they call you into a different queue where they take your fingerprints to verify your identity, and then you proceed to the interview. So in different consulates, different things happen. So when I was called into the interview line, the person in front of me just got rejected, and that's something which made me nervous. And you can see other people as well who's getting approved, who's getting rejected, because if someone's going back with a passport in their hand, that means they're rejected. Because if you're approved, they keep your passport and put the visa sticker and send it back to your home address, right? So the person in front of me got rejected. I could hear that when he was talking, he was taking very long pauses, stammering, and he didn't seem very confident. So that could be one reason, but I don't know what reason he got rejected. There could be some problem with his application, you can never know. But I could just see off the bat that he was not very confident, and that is something you have to keep in mind. You have to be calm and composed, because remember, in the interview, the interviewer has all your details. They're just there to verify and know why you really want to go to the US. So when my turn came, I greeted the official with a good morning, and they had a screen open where they could see all my details. So they first confirmed with me that I'm going to Carnegie Mellon. Then the officer asked me in which year did I graduate and what was my CGPA. I told him that. And the next question he asked me was what were my other admits and rejects. I told them I'd got two admits from Carnegie Mellon and New York University, and I got rejected from Columbia, and I'm finally chosen to go to Carnegie Mellon University. So then he asked, so again, as I told you, they had all my information. They even had my resume, and they confirmed that I was working as a technical product manager at my previous company, to which I agreed. And then they asked, why are you choosing to pursue a master's at this point? So I replied that I want to, after working for 2 years in the industry, I want to specialize in computer science and combine it with the necessary business and management knowledge which is required in the field I'm interested in. And of course, a master's will give me a good alumni connect and help me boost my career trajectory when I do it from the top universities in the US. So that is what I replied. And then he asked me about my finances. So it's very important you are very clear about that. So he asked me how am I financing myself. I replied that I have taken an education loan for so and so amount from this bank, and my father is also sponsoring me with so and so amount. And then the last question he asked me was, what does your father do? And I answered that. And after that, he told me that your visa is approved, and I was extremely relieved. And within, I think, 3 or 4 days, I got my visa. So for me, the interview process was very simple. You have to be calm and composed, and it's a good idea to understand and go through the kind of questions they can ask you there beforehand. So some common questions which they will definitely ask you in most interviews is, first is related to why you want to do a master's. So they can ask you why you want to pursue a master's, why a master's in the particular field that you have chosen, why a master's in USA. So you should have a good answer to that. Second question is around your finances. They can ask you anything about your finances. So make sure you're very clear with what amount you're getting from which source. If your father is sponsoring you, what is his annual income? What does he do? Make sure you're very clear on that. The last important question which they can ask you is, what do you want to do after your masters? They didn't ask me that, but they typically ask that in interviews, and it's generally a good idea to not show them that you want to immigrate into the country, but your main purpose is to study if you're going for a student visa. And last thing is to make sure to carry the correct documents with you. The main documents that I was asked and that they generally ask is your service fee receipt, your I-20 form, and your passport. Other than that, there's also a long list of documents which they do not ask normally, but they can ask, and that's listed in the US visa site as well. So I'll leave a link for that. You can carry a folder with those documents with you. So that was my experience and some advice which I had to give. If you have any questions, do leave that in the comments. And if you did like this video, do like it and subscribe to this channel. And I'll see you again in the next video.